$280,000.
So you guys made $280,000 on your very first Big Fun Spin Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations, guys. All right, guys, what's up? Today we have special guests Nick and Rachel Ah Nee. They're investors from the Big Island. They flip houses, do ground-up development, own rentals. Rachel's an agent, and basically they're rock stars on the Big Island. So welcome to the show, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So we started to kind of dive into your story. We talked a little bit before the show about how you kind of started investing in real estate. But I mean, it's really cool to just see like local people here who are just making it happen, you know? So just really love like the story that you guys have. But recently you put on an event on the Big Island with bringing up some investors. We got to fly up there and kind of got to see what was going on with you guys. And tell us, like, what was the experience like putting on like an event for the first time?
Definitely scary. It's having that courage to step out of your comfort zone. That was the first time we did an event like that.
Yeah.
Let alone the first time I actually went out on stage. So that was
the first
scary.
time you're speaking on stage.
Yes.
Because you're a natural. I gotta say, like when you guys are on stage, like it seems super natural. But I mean, I love it when we can bring together like other investors around the state and just kind of have people share. The people who are in the audience can kind of get some information or some motivation, but also just hearing like local people like this kind of sharing their story and how they got started with investing, right? So
yeah, definitely. We want to, just encourage, collaboration. We're all here together with the same dream, the same goals and such. And so we want to just network and just really grow the real estate investing audience on the Big Island. And we see all these rock stars as yourself, and we're so blessed to have all of you speak. And that's, a goal for, I think, a lot of people, but it's like, okay, how do we get there? And even for us too, like when we started off, we're like, that there's no way that we can do it. Like there's, that imposter syndrome. But then when you see people on social media and such, and then when you hear them face to face and get to meet them and talk stories with them, then it's like, you know what? That light goes on and you're like, I can do this too.
Yeah. So, it was actually a meetup, like very similar to one that you put on where I was like a brand new real estate investor, like knew absolutely nothing. And then I saw this guy get on stage, this guy, Corey, he was like a big time flipper at the time. I was like, oh, it's Corey Namoto. Like, because like you're so far from where they are. So you feel like you're like, that's for them, but I'm like so many steps back, right?
Yes.
But then like you see a normal guy, we actually went to like coffee after we started like I got to know him. And then now like the gap is no longer like, wow, it's Corey Namoto. It's like, this is my buddy Corey. So like we're peers at that point, And so
I love it.
I think just seeing your guys' journey where you guys probably started where you're just getting into real estate where it seemed like such a big gap. But now you guys are flipping houses. You guys are doing ground up construction. You guys own rentals. I mean, it's been a cool journey to kind of just see like what you guys have accomplished in such a short period of time.
Yeah. Thank you. Definitely there's a lot of ups and downs. I mean, on social media, sometimes you just see, all the good stuff, but there's a lot of things, where you just gotta, just learn how to cope with it and, just trust the process and also just give yourself grace, to be able to be like, you know what, I am learning throughout this process. You don't know what you don't know until you go through it. And so when we first started getting into investing, like we had clients that were investors and then seeing, learning the numbers, learning the process slowly along the way. And seeing what numbers we were getting as the realtor, but then now seeing how much money they're getting, and I'm like,
you mean like on the back end where like, I made a commission of $20,000, but the investors are making $100,000,
and we're like, okay, we need to learn that part, and so we went and joined a company called Fortune Builders.
Okay, I'm familiar with them. Coaching program.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I could name names, but so we joined Fortune Builders, again, to just grow and just educate ourselves. We want to be students for life and just really embrace all there is to know and surround yourself with like-minded individuals so you can continue to look.
I like how you said you want to be a student for life because that's so important as a investor, but as a person, right? Like as parents, as husband and wives, we're always trying to grow in every area of our life, but it's just constantly learning and realizing that there's still more to grow. At the same time, being like satisfied or happy with the growth that you had so far, right? So there's always that balance where you're trying to grow more, but you also want to like never be like unsatisfied with what you've already accomplished, right?
Yeah, just really, living in the presence. I mean, still yet having your goals, but, almost like, life by design, right? So you want to make your daily choices, but enjoy the life that you are striving for, and that journey, really just enjoying the journey along the way.
So, and you guys, real estate investing company, what is Nick's role and what is your role? How do you guys divide it up?
So basically, our roles is very simple.
Okay.
I do boots on the ground construction.
Okay.
I handle it from the scope of work
to
the takeoffs. If we find the deal, her and I will walk it. She'll present it to me. She does all the logistics and the paperwork and the computer, the smart stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just the guy that does it, right? So she will bring me the deal and say, hey, I feel that this is a good deal. Could we visit this site and can you do a scope of work and do a takeoff so that way my numbers and her numbers can collaborate and see at the very end if this is going to even work, right? So my role is that I do that, and then the boots on the ground, project management, you know, always scheduling, making sure things are, the deadlines are getting hit, and anything to do with the construction is basically what I
love how you guys have like really distinct roles. I think a big part of being successful on a team is making sure you know what your lane is and what the other person knows what their lane is, right?
I agree.
And that was a learning curve for us too, and especially as husband and wife. You know, we work together and we live together. So there's times where we just want to, rip out each other's hair, but here we are.
It goes with the lane. It also goes with the hat, right? You know, make sure that you are in your own lane. And make sure you are wearing the right hats, right? And not wearing multiple hats, because in this business, you can't do it by yourself. So stop trying to take on everything yourself. And that's what the delegation is, right? My strength might be her weakness. My weakness might be her strength. And that's what makes a dynamic duo, right? And stop trying to control everything and just let it be, right? Is, okay, I trust your process and I trust your position, and you trust my process and my position. And that's how you can control it, because like she said, it's not all fine and dandy, right? Because there's times that I try and I'm merging, I'm like side of road, and I'm like, sometimes.
And I'm like, put your blinker on, you're going back over there.
Then she crosses my lane without a blinker, right? And I'm like, whoa, brake check. Like, what are you doing in my lane,
Just
right?
Prime example this morning. So he sends me the like blueprints or the house plans. And he's like, okay, this is how we want to make it for our new builds that's coming up this year. And I totally like red marked it like the whole way on the airplane ride here. And he was like, you want a whole custom revision? I'm like, yes. And then so he loves me for that. So.
What's like is there certain times when like have you guys had any like really big arguments over like real estate investing? Like has like the stress kind of got to you guys and there was like some big blow ups?
For sure. You know, and a lot of a lot of the big blow ups usually, to tell you the truth, happen when you're in the deal already. We're in a fix and
flip. In the middle of it,
correct?
Right?
Yes.
There's problems that's coming
every day, right? There's problems that occur not only between husband and wife or project manager and investor, and then both of us and our team. And we also have employees, right? So now we're dealing with, we're not only mentors to each other, we're counselors to our workers, and you know what I mean? We're a whole, and then we have to deal with each other, right? Change orders is the biggest one, right? from the side.
It's so minute.
I know. I mean, for change orders, I know exactly what you mean, because actually we were doing a project, me and our team was doing a project on Eva Beach, right? So it was a standard fix and flip. It was like, hey, we're just gonna like come in here. It's like we're just gonna keep the layout. We're gonna just come in there real quick. Big mistake. I brought my wife to take a look at it.
I love
like,
it.
no, hon, we gotta take down this wall.
Open it up.
Open concept. We're gonna redo everything. I'm like, no, we can't do this. Long story short, happy wife, happy life, right?
Yes.
So like we decided to just basically gut the whole thing, reroute the electrical. I mean, like that. It was a massive job, right? So, but the good story at the end. I think that was the right decision, because it actually sold for a lot more than we expected.
Yes.
Because of her design, her choices, you know.
Right.
So, but at the end of the day, it's like it's such a challenging like relationship to be in business with your significant other. Right? So
for sure. And it's a fine line, right? What you can and cannot do. What makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Does the budget do you have it in your budget? Number one. And also proper construction protocol is what really gets us right in the field. Is we work top to bottom, we work bottom to top,
like framing first, then plumbing, right? You
so I'm not gonna have my guy,
let's add the like we're gonna move the bathroom later,
exactly,
right?
Like, you know what I mean, we're done tiling, and they're like, okay, well, can you take this closet out of there and make the shower bigger? Ooh, that, I don't know if you're able to fit this in your budget, but we can see if it's gonna work, or paint the house, and I don't like that color, can you paint it again? It's not only a frustration on the project manager or myself, but it's also on the team.
Yeah, and the big thing is this thing that people don't realize. There's this thing called project fatigue, where like your workers, they're working, they see the progress, like, hey, things are going good, they feel motivated, energized to work on the project. If it takes too long, let's say like you're not getting draws and it's stalled, or the owner's making change orders where like they painted one color and they got to repaint it another color. It's not the same amount of work to repaint it a second time. It's more heavy a burden mentally because you're like right. So like so then like it's like it takes more time, energy, and effort to do the second time or to change or fix something than to just do it right the first time.
Yes, for sure. I definitely agree because I've done that before. I drive him nuts, and I'm like so I'll be like, oh, let's do this, let's move this wall, or enclose the closet or whatever the case is, and then he does it. I'm like, I don't like it. Can you open it back up again? And he's like, what? I just did it. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, again, like, is it within the numbers? Does it work and such? And so, ebbs and flows, right? You don't know what you don't know until you go through it, and sometimes, it's not even a mistake. It's just like, what you thought that would work doesn't work. And you know what? That's okay. You just carry on. Don't let it damper your spirit and just continue moving on. But yes, I
love that. I think a lot of times when real estate investing, there's so many challenges, right? We're always faced with different like obstacles. You never know what's going to come up next. There's always problems that's going to be arising, right? So it's kind of like your ability to figure things out with a great attitude and move on to the next thing will make you successful.
Yeah, we just make it work.
Figuring it out, right? And there's a lot of timeouts. Right? You got to know when to put yourself on timeout. You know what I mean? Because it will reflect. And it will ruin your day. Right? You just got to know when to stop and just time out. We'll revisit this idea. Just not right now. And a lot of things come. It's just all about, even on the job site, right? Because we're having this discussion. We have our team there. And, there's a way for me to bring it to the team than it is for me to just say, okay, we have to redo it. Right. So the way
that you structure, the way you phrase it, the way you frame it makes a big difference on how we see it,
right? So like how you said, it's draining in their mind. So if we make these decisions, make it outside, and then I can come back and have this conversation with the team, and an easier transition than, oh, we gotta redo this again.
Sorry.
Right. So a big part of it is there's so much leadership that's going on over here. Like when you're leading the team, employees, especially contractors, it's like you gotta keep them like motivated, inspired, like the whole time, right? There's a lot of different like buy them lunch, maybe a small thing that goes a long way, but also like the way you treat them as far as like inspiring and challenging them as opposed to like kind of degrading them, right? So I think just like as we grow as investors, we're also growing as business owners and leaders. And I didn't realize that when I first got started investing. I was like, hey, you just buy a house and like message some text a contractor and you're done, right? But like over the years, I realized like the way that you manage your team, the way that you talk to your vendors, it makes a big difference on the success or like the failure of your project.
Right, because it's all about networking and relationships, right? Especially in a small community. So you want to just, like make sure that you always, have resources available and, keep those relationships in a good way, in a positive way.
People underestimate how important relationships are in this business, I think, because it seems very simple because they're tangible things, there's numbers, there's spreadsheets, but at the end of the day, business is about people.
Yes. Absolutely. And collaboration. Because, sometimes in certain markets, people might look at each other as competition and such. But, if you learn to just collaborate together and have an open mindset, like there's so many more opportunities out there. It's unbelievable. And once you see opportunity, you can't unsee it. Like you see it everywhere.
That's the beauty about business and investing, because if you look at, let's say like a baseball game, it's like a closed game where there's a winner and there's a loser, right? And like there's like, let's say on the soccer team or a football team, there's like 11 spots on the field. You're either on the field or you're not. So like there's like a definitely like black or white line. But in business, there's so much opportunities, and you can always create more opportunities out thin air where like the reason to collaborate just makes more sense because like we can always help each other grow. So like it's like just a very different field, which just makes it more fun for us to just collaborate and for everybody to win. Like,
Yes, for sure.
So I mean, just when you guys are kind of like coming up in the on your journey, was there any kind of things where you felt like you had to overcome mentally or to get to the point where you guys are now?
Well, for sure. I can speak for myself, man. Mentally, the mental game, spiritual game, mind, body, and soul would, I thought I could control it myself. Right. And I always was wondering, why am I not falling short, but not being able to scale. Why am I almost at the top of the mountain, but I can't get up and over, right? And it starts with, you know, your mind and your heart, right? And I had to overcome that, right? Coming in too as a local boy, right? The generational curses, that, the other, this is the way of life. This is the way we're taught. This is the way we're raised, and breaking that and understanding it and being able to see it, right? And being able to realize that, hey, this is a new age. This is 2024. Most of that stuff don't work no more, right? And for me, you know, changing my mindset and the way I outlook of life, right? Getting it all lined up.
How did you do that? I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people who are listening to here who had that mindset. Maybe they don't even realize that, but it's just like you're in this bubble where you just believe what you believe, and you feel like you can do what you can do. But then, like, as you become an investor, you kind of like expand your horizons. You achieve things that you never thought was possible. Now it kind of opens up this world of like what you believe and see about the world is like totally different today than probably what you were 3 or 4 years ago. How did that happen?
The thing is, I mean, I'm a real believer of you are who you hang out with. Right. Your association, the people that you associate with, and the mentors and your idols are not the same level but above you, so you can continually chase that goal instead of having stagnant. You don't want to be stagnant or being stuck in a plateau with certain you know, your circle. So I speak for myself is my mental game is associating with like-minded individuals and reading the proper books and, you know, listening to the proper podcasts and the mindset and the people that are motivational that will help you out every morning.
It's what you're feeding your mind and your soul, right?
So you're not only eating it, you know, like how people say you are what you eat. But not only just physically, it's in your ears and what you watch and what you hear, right? So all of that is part of feeding your soul, right? And another way, I got to give it up to the Word of Life of God. And Word of Life Kona has really helped me on my path to really change my focus on my outlook of life and myself.
That's really good. Even for myself, I think there's a lot of, as an investor, business owner, there are a lot of hard days. We're like, man, like I can't believe this. And like, you feel like the weight of the stress, right? So I think for me, like a big time thing is like lean on your God or our God, right? So like opening the Word in the morning and just having like that calming moment. Different people might have like maybe meditation or whatever it is, but just finding a way where you can just cast your worries on something else, right? So like it's just, then you can restart, have like a fresh mindset, be able to like tackle things with like a fresh energy and really kind of like overcome the challenges that are kind of facing you in every day, right?
So. And I totally agree, man. And I used to be very short fused, you know what I mean? No patience, zero patience actually. And I wouldn't say negative, but most times, every time that a situation arises, I would either blow up, or my negative mindset or the way of my outlook of something or the situation would automatically look at it like a negative. Like, what is this? What is this bringing to me or my family, or what are they trying to attack me for? Versus now with the way you say, you know, starting your day the right way and the right path, it gives me that opportunity to step back and be like, ooh, I got this situation.
It's crazy. Every time I've known you, you've been such a positive, uplifting guy. Like, is it true? Was he negative before?
I mean, there's times I'm like, well, you know, like I created like this packet. I spent lots of hours for this investment packet. And the first thing, like, he's like, oh, I don't like that. I'm like, dude, like, can we go past page 1? Like, you know, can we just make it past that? But yeah, he's definitely come a long way and such. And, you know, again, we're both growing individually and together as a couple. So, you know, ebbs and flows, ups and downs and everything. And to add to his story too, it's like, you know, not only is it the mindset, it definitely starts there to just make sure that you're good. And so like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like physically, in all aspects of that. And you're not going to be 100% every day, but that's okay. You know, that's okay. And again, give yourself grace and don't be hard on yourself, you know, so much. And I think what really helped us to kind of elevate is to really just, I totally see it now is being intentional. And by being intentional, you take massive action. Because it's so easy to, like, local growing up local girl, grew up in a coffee shack and such, like, oh, there's no way I would ever own a home. There's no way I would ever, be able to put down, and buy another rental property or something to that
effect.
It's
for them, not for me.
Yeah, it's for them and not for me. And so I think just overcoming those, those obstacles, mental obstacles in your mind, and then just go for it. You gotta just go for it. It's so crazy.
You guys have come such a long way from being like I could never own a house. Now you guys are flipping and making like 6 figures on every project. Tell me about like the flips you guys, like you said you have a rule for you won't touch a flip unless
it's 6 figures. Yes.
Tell me that again. So what is your rule?
Yeah. So my rule is that if I don't make 6 figures, then I'm out of the deal type of thing.
No deal.
Yes. No deal. No
we're
deal.
talking about fix and flipping.
Yes.
If you can't make 6 figures or more, you're not going to do the deal at all.
That is correct.
Tell me why. What's like the reason for this rule?
I think, here in Hawaii, we have such a unique market. And so there's a lot of room for profits, but there's a lot of room for unforeseen circumstances and such. And so the cost of it is good. And so I'm a very conservative person. So when I, put on a extra contingency of funds, I'll put an extra one on there just as a little buffer, just to make sure, because if anything happens, I mean, we're just a small little local family. We don't have a lot of stuff, but one flip could just take us out. Wipe us out completely.
So I think that's a good point that you make, is that like people sometimes see like profit as profit, but really profit is profit and risk put together in one.
Yes.
So whenever something goes wrong, you're taking away from your profit, but it's also like your risk, kind of like your contingency, right? So let's say you're projected to make $100,000 or more, but then it can easily wipe out to like one bad thing, like it takes longer than expected, or like a change order. Now the $100,000 becomes like $10,000, right? Because like 9,000 is wiped out. If you're only trying to make 50,000, you would be like negative 40,000 at that point, right? So like that, it's like a risk and profit put into one in that number.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward, or not.
So have you guys ever lost money on a flip before?
Not yet. Knock on wood.
Not yet. Not yet. And we've heard stories, from normal investors that are in the circle, that they've had some nightmare ones, and thank goodness.
Whenever I talk to like experienced investors, they're always like, if you've never lost money on a deal, you're lying, because everybody loses money on a deal. And up to like before this year, I've never lost money on a deal. I was like, I'm like the exception. I'm never going to lose money on a deal. But this year, we actually lost money on a couple of deals. And so, I mean, it is what it is, but like, it's just like it's almost like once you do it, it sucks while you're in it.
Yeah.
But then once time passes, you're like, it's just part of the game. So like the more deals you can do, it's just a matter of time before you're going to lose money on a deal at some point in time. But I mean, hopefully you never do. Like maybe you can be like the one unicorn who never does, but just really, you just got to realize like that's just part of the game. Is sometimes you're going to have big winners, sometimes you're going to like,
you just got to be ready for it, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So if you break even, you're happy, right?
Well, not exactly like Vegas. I mean, like we were trying to make money here, right?
Right. Well, we're trying to, but at the same time, you have that threshold.
Yeah.
You have that threshold. If you're breaking even, that's almost like threshold. Like, hey,
as long as you don't lose money, right? That's the other thing.
And that money, your profit margin can like dwindle down so fast. Like if you're like over budget, like if you're spending more than what you budgeted, if you're taking the holding time is much longer, or even if you have a hard money lender that you can't get in touch with for a few months to take out your draw, you're getting charged interest. So it's like things that happen, and you just, again, like out of our control, and you just gotta just continue with the process and get to the finish line, and reach out to people and just be like, hey, can I bounce this idea off of you? Is there anything else? And that's why it's great to surround yourself with like people that are like-minded or that are experienced, because then they can be like, oh, you know what, just do this. And it's like,
there's so many times in my career where I was like, oh, how am I going to solve this problem? I mean, one phone call, I'm like, dude,
you're like, just simple.
I'm like, thank you.
And you're racking your brain, right?
Either like they've experienced it before and they know the solution, or they have a contact who can just solve it for you.
Yes.
So those are two things where like having a network in Hawaii where you're friends with other guys, or they can really just help you to get over those humps that you thought maybe were impossible, or like a big hump, but then with the right contact, the right person, it's like, boom, this is like an easy solution, right?
So, yes, for sure.
It's networking,
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I mean, that's a big thing to like get in the right rooms, like go to these events where you can like talk to experienced investors or even new investors. Sometimes it's like a new investor who like just brand new, but like they read something or they've got a contact or they have like a resource that you might have never thought about, but just because like you had the right conversation with the person, then like they're trying to bring value to you as well too, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah, for sure.
No, I love the guys, like your guys' mindset of just how you guys are just like so collaborative in like everything you do. You know, you're just local family. You guys are so warm and inviting. You know, just like you guys always have smiles every time I see you, and I think like that. It's just really fun to be part of the Hawaii investor community. I think a lot of times, supposedly before I started, I think a few like 5+ years ago, they said it was a little more cutthroat, where like people were not as like sharing and giving, but ever since I've been part of like the investor community, everybody's like so helpful. There's so many go-givers. We want to see each other succeed. You know? So I really love that part of our community.
Yes, 100% for sure. Yes.
Makes
Spread
it
the
more,
aloha.
makes it way more inviting, right?
Yeah, makes
And
it fun. So you can
it's-
experience it, you know, all together and not be like, you know, and whether that be good experiences or learning opportunities, it's just like, oh my God, Donna, I can't believe, you know, this happened or whatever, you know, at least just having that type of relationship is key. So,
and just like being able to share our wins and our losses with each other. You know, sometimes it's like you accomplish something like really amazing or see something really amazing, but you have nobody to share it with. It sucks.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, just like
does.
having your wife or your significant other, like let's say you're looking at a beautiful like picture or like a sunset, you're like, this is amazing. I'm so glad I get to see this. But just having somebody to share it with just makes it just way more special, you know? So I think for you guys obviously have that built in, but also just having a community behind you, like, hey, Daniel, like, look at this flip we did. I'm like, we're so stoked for you just because like, we get to see, like, we get to write off like the good wins that you guys also have as well too, right?
Yes. Awesome. Thank you.
So breaking into like your guys' fix and flips over in the Big Island, tell us about your best deal.
I think our best deal was our first one. And that one there was kind of, I was kind of taken back. It was the first one, you know, again, brand new, you know, so I'm like, okay, I don't know what to expect. And then I get an email from supposedly a wholesaler. And I'm like, they're like, hey, you know, there's a house in Kona. Are you interested? I'm like, okay. And I was like, well, I'm a realtor. So can I get the lockbox code? He's like, oh no, it's unlocked. Just go in. And I'm like, well, hold on. I was like, but you know, so I'm already doing research, like looking up who the owner is and, you know, doing drive-bys, you know, and things like that, just to see if like, is there somebody inside? Is this a setup? So I'm like, hey, you got to come with me. You know, I don't want to get, you know, busted for trespassing or anything. Right. Yeah. And so, but it ended up, you know, we went in and we loved it. And we bought that one from the wholesaler for $230 and we sold it for 8 offers on the table and we accepted one for $675.
Wow, so, congratulations.
Thank you.
How big was the renovation on this guy?
That remodel actually, we were a little over budget on that. The house was actually a little larger than
on tax.
Yeah, it was like 2,400 square feet.
You know, we had all kinds of things going on in the house, right? We had the main dwelling, then we had the finished basement, and then we had an outside, like, wet bar area that we can turn into a like an entertainment area. Then there was another bathroom outside. So, and it was our first one, right? And so when we ran the numbers, you know, it's you know, the roof was another one, right? And the area, the beams and the tongue and groove and all that stuff had termite damage. Then they had to tear off the shingles to get to those to replace them. So all of these things that we couldn't visually see, you taking on the gutters and the fascia boards are rotted. So now all 2x6s got to get 2-story, right?
2-story too. Wow. Okay.
Correct. So there was a lot of, I wouldn't say unforeseen, just not prepared for it, but we went a little over budget on that.
Yeah. I think we ended up at like 120. So
well, I mean, that's for 2,400 square feet. That's insanely good for Hawaii, at least.
Yeah.
But does that cost because you got like the contractor?
No. So when the thing is when I shoot the numbers on top of our scope of work, I do it like a real retail.
Okay.
So that way.
You know, like we know, because like, you don't want to be giving like free. It's basically you're giving profit to your project, right?
Correct. So we're trying to do everything,
by
like real,
above
right? So we're getting a real number from the contractor as saying, hey, this is market value. So you're gonna investing is gonna pay this company the market value, right? So that way we know our numbers at the end is true.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Right? You're not fabricating it so you're profit on the back end.
That's a really good point. So I think people don't realize this. They're like, so sometimes they'll flip a house, but they'll do all the work themselves, and they're like, oh, I made like $50,000, but they don't realize like if they were to hire a contractor, they would have like made like $10,000 because they substitute like their own sweat equity into it.
Yeah,
And there's
right.
nothing wrong with that in the beginning because you want to do that when you start. So like maybe get your foot in the door, but you got to realize like that's not sustainable for like a long.
Yes.
Time is money.
Totally agree.
So,
time is money. And there's times where like, in the beginning we were like more hands-on and everything. But if I'm going to paint a room, it's going to take me a week where we can hire somebody and get it done in 2 days. So then it's just that much faster that the project can, just move along. And it just, it's just.
Yeah. So on that one, we went, projected, we ended up rehabbing it for 120.
Which is, dude, can you work on some of our projects over here, man? That's such a good price. But
yeah, and the thing is, it was a large
2,400 square feet, new roof,
brand new roof. We had everything, vinyl, brand new, all nice, cabinetry, all granite, backsplash.
That's a killer price.
Vinyl flooring,
I know.
painting.
He hooked it up.
You know what I mean? So we did garage painting. We even had to excavate on the side of the house by hand. With 80-pound jackhammers or pneumatic hammers, because we couldn't fit a excavator on the side.
Okay.
So back in that day in that neighborhood, it was okay for them to build like that. So the side of the house, the rock, the hillside was against the wall.
Yeah.
So every time it rained, the water would follow the terrain and go into the house and create water damage.
Yeah. And the siding and everything.
So you had to fix all of that stuff. Then.
All of that was pounded out 4 feet away.
Dude, for
by
120,
hand.
I swear, like if we did that on Oahu, that would be like that sounds like 300, like for us, like that's insane.
Yeah, it was major, But as you were saying too, we did do a little bit more sweat equity on that one there, and then the projects after that, it did cost a little bit more because we're like, okay, time is money, and we got to keep going because if we do it, we're going to save money, with sweat equity, but now the holding time is going to take longer, and so now we're paying money on interest.
You're focusing on like in my opinion, the long game, the wrong things, right? Because I was the same way with my first couple projects. I was living there, trying to like learn YouTube, like how to put in plumbing, like install cabinets or whatever. And so just because you don't know when you first start, and you just think like that's how you flip houses, right?
Yeah,
like
HD
TV, they're like they're knocking down the walls, whatever. Like they're flipping the house themselves. But in reality, a lot of it is just being a good leader with your contractors. But at the same time, I think like when you don't run your numbers correctly, you get like a skewed view of what the actual profit is, whether it's you're doing the work yourself or you're using own money. Because sometimes when you're using hard money, like you're paying, let's say like 12% interest on it, right? But if you use your own money, you're paying 0% interest.
Right.
So like your profit or perception of profit and holding costs and everything is a little skewed because you're not factoring in all the different kind of costs that's involved in the project. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest win though. So the bottom line, we bought it for what?
Yeah, 230.
230, 120 all in. So that's what, 350.
So how much profit did you guys make on this one?
And then you
that
sold
was 280. I think we got
200. So tell me that again.
280,000.
So you guys made $280,000 on your very first Big Fence of Hoy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations, guys. That's huge, man. It's like, honestly, like things like that, it just like blows my mind. I mean, now that I've been in the industry, I see this all the time. But then when I first started, right, I was making $85,000 in my job as a software developer. One deal to make 280, that literally was just like that's crazy. Like, but congrats and props to you guys for congratulations on success.
Thank you. So yeah, one home a year can just make all the difference and such. And I talked to like some other people on my team, and we had this conversation like about a week ago, and we had lunch, and they were like, oh, talking about like sales and like how sales have declined.
Your agent team.
Yes, on our team. And so I told them, I said, all I want to make is like $30,000, and they're like 30,000. Like, is that all you need? I'm like, well, and plus flipping one house a year, then I'll be okay. And they were like, oh yeah, what kind of money, with your standards? And I'm like, well, sorry.
Well, that's your wins, right? So you got some that are bigger than normal. And then you got some that are like, whoa.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So they're not always going to be home runs, right? There's going to be some challenging ones.
But we'll take a bunt. I'll take a bunt and run to first base.
Yeah, no.
Main thing you ain't striking out.
Bases all day.
Bases all day.
Yes.
Main thing I'm not striking out. We're good. We're moving forward.
Right.
So, I mean, tell me like a little bit more about that. What's it like the transition or like the dual thing of being an agent and an investor? Like, do you guys, tell me what that's like?
I think for me, to be honest, I did kind of struggle with that because it's so different, even though they're so related, but they're so different because in general real estate, like you're so focused on like sales and like finding, servicing buyers and sellers and such. And so there's different duties for that. But then on the investing side, it's a whole nother realm of like, knowing like, construction costs, scope of work, and just understanding like the fundamentals of like hard money lenders. And like, so you learn like almost a new terminology.
So the base of knowledge is completely different between the two.
I think so. Yeah.
What about like you maybe like where you spend your time or like your mindset on the two?
And that was the biggest thing is like, because I struggle because the whole team is like all for, like general real estate. And here I am like, like I want to do investing. Like that's my passion. That's what I want to do. So I really personally like did struggle with that. I did. And I just had to take, like Nick said, just take a time out and just really just do a lot of really reading, a lot of soul searching, a lot of like mindset, motivational things to just really clear my head and be at peace, and then just be true to yourself. And so my heart is sorry for the general real estate. I'm still will do it absolutely 100%. But my passion is definitely I've come to realization, and this is just like recent stuff. Side. It's just the investing side.
So because what I usually see is there's when people get into real estate, they think they need a real estate license to invest in real estate. That's kind of like a common, I guess, misconception.
Yes.
And typically, like when you get your license, there's like people who just dive in. They say they want to invest, but they just become an agent. And there's people who want to be an agent and invest, but they just become an investor. So like there's guys who are like, I rarely ever see guys who are doing both like successfully. It's usually I'm an agent, and then once in a while I'll do a little bit investing on the side, or I'm an investor, and once in a while I have my license, I'll sell a house here and there. What's like the way that you're able to balance that out?
Well, we got to continue to strive, right, for getting jobs every day. Right?
So on the contractor side, you still got
to get that cash flow going. You still got to have jobs on the side in between our personal projects, right? Unless we can get it set up one after another, go. To keep the team continually moving. Obviously, in the long run, it'd be best is if we can always do it only in-house.
I see.
And our company only does our investment properties when we get to that scaled level, that we can continue just roll and do, 10, 15 projects, and we're just going one to the next, That's the ultimate goal, is because our biggest hurdle in the public is dealing with clients. Right. So now I have to deal with a client and the client's livelihood. Right. I got that additional stress that's coming from them that I have to deal with them in their own home or their projects. Versus if I do it for us, we are the owners and we're dealing with us. Right.
So we got
a pretty demanding client over here.
Yes, I am. I'm like,
for sure. But this one I can deal with, right? We can go out and have a good dinner and we'll be okay.
Or no dinner.
Or if
you're
if
eating Simon tonight. No, just kidding.
If it's too bad, she's eating Vienna sausage.
Nope.
But that's the biggest two things that is stirring me into our own
Well, it's taking away your time too, right? Because I think like a lot of people, when they start out like on their own business, they're like, hey, I'm really good at construction, I'm going to open my construction company. But then like that's only like a small part of it. The other part is I need to get clients, I need to manage and maintain these clients, right? So there's marketing and sales to actually get the jobs where we can actually do your work. And I think people don't realize how much effort it takes to actually get the clients, right? Even being an agent, I think like in my opinion, like the actual selling of it is not the most difficult, right? Because like the marketing and different things, but it's basically getting people to trust you to want to sell your house, right? Or that's like a lot of your time and energy is prospecting, because the whole marketing and obtaining of clients is such a big part of business that people don't realize when they're just kind of getting started.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to be like front of mind, right? So you always, marketing is a huge component of, getting business in general real estate. So it's huge.
But even like in the contracting world, it also works hand in hand, right? So our investment properties is also the content, right? So a lot of times is when people see us, the befores and the afters, and we're doing our walkthroughs and the videos of look at what we got, we're pulling out 4 or 5 dumpsters of this house. And then 4 or 5 months later, they're like, wait, what? That was the same house? So it's kind of more of the proof in the pudding. So it kind of works hand in hand.
It's very synergistic. That's really good. I mean, I never thought about that. That's a really good point though, because
they see it.
Yeah. You guys to feature your project and say like, hey, they're like, who's the contractor for this? By the way, is Nick.
Exactly. So and then other partners or other investors, they struggle with finding
good quality
people or, boots on the ground, right? So a lot of out of state guys are, that, hey, Nick, you're in Kono, you're here. Can you do me a favor? I'm here, and here. Can you do a walkthrough for me? Or can you help me with this and this and this? And so the service is always there, especially for our own investing community, right? We're always out there trying to help one another. If somebody can't get there, let me get there for you. And we can do it. But we use our own investment properties as a tool for, it is a marketing thing, right? So I've got, business from both ends, being a doing general construction for the public, and then finding deals through that. And then also me doing general construction, and finding out why I'm doing the construction because they want to sell it. And then she comes in, right? And then now we're double teaming this one. And then also on the investing side, I get other clients say, hey, you're doing this project. I'm watching it. Can you come do my house? So it works.
There's so much synergy here, and like vertical integration where you guys, and so like even on the back end, you can sell it. You can be the agent to sell it, right? I mean, there's so many things that
buy and sell.
You guys are like having wins here, where just by being in the industry gives you like a small advantage to kind of like become an investor as well too,
right? Because part of your core team is, you have the contractor, you have the real estate agent, you have your hard money lenders or the lending, team. So since we have, so grateful that I have general real estate, that I've learned, how to read a market, like what's going on, where is it going, and all that stuff. And he has the construction background, so it's like, why not?
So now you gotta get one of your kids to be a hard money lender.
We'll be the hard money lender. They can be the contractor. Yes,
we'll go on the bank side now.
We'll be on the passive income side.
Somebody can be a realtor, and somebody can take the construction, and then we'll be the 12% plus 2.
What? So do you guys have kids?
We do. Yes.
How many kids do you guys have?
We have 3.
Okay. Wow. So you guys are full-time investors, realtor, contractors, and you have 3 kids.
We do. Yes.
And also, I think we were talking a little bit before this, like you guys are big on entrepreneurship, just like, just teaching others about entrepreneurship. Do you guys teach that to your kids as well too?
Yeah, we definitely do. So our young one, Timana, he just, when he was 10 years old, he just turned 11.
Okay.
And he wanted a PlayStation. And so we're like, okay, well, what do you want to do with that?
Okay.
Or how are you going to come up with the money? Okay. And so he's
you didn't want to just buy it for him?
No, you have to earn it. I'm sorry. You got to do lots of chores for like 2 years. Okay. Or if not, then you can, think of something.
Raise your own money.
Raise your own money. Yeah. Yes. So we ended up doing lollipops. And so he, we marketed it on social media and such. And then just family and friends, with their love and support, they.
So can you explain this? Like, what about you guys did lollipops? Like the. Can you break that down?
Yeah. So basically, it started one day where he was like, hey, Mom, can you melt this rock candy and make a lollipop? I'm like, oh, son, it doesn't work like that. But I do have the molds to make lihimoy lollipops.
Okay.
And so he tasted it. He's like, Mom, can we sell this? I'm like,
so
yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
It's a lollipops with the lihimoy in the middle.
Yes.
Kind of thing. So,
well, we did it. Actually, we took it a step further, right? So, because when we're growing up, they had the lollipop with just single seed.
Yeah.
So everybody would go straight for the seed, and the lollipop was trash, right?
Yeah.
So I said, hey, I don't like this because that's what I used to experience, right? You go to the pink store, and you yank it off, and you take and you throw the lollipop away. So what we said, I go, you know what? Inside of our mix, why don't we throw lihimoy powder in the mix?
Oh,
so the lihimoy goes throughout the whole lollipop.
So it's a slow, like the whole.
So every time, the whole lollipop, you'll have lihimoy, and you'll get the seed.
Okay.
But you'll have lihimoy powder throughout the whole flavor lollipop.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay.
So we ended up creating that, and you know how many people, old school locals, was like, wait, what? They're looking at it, and they're putting it in the sun, and they could see all the speckles. And you're like, the lihimoy powder is in the whole lollipop? And I go, well, that's gonna separate us.
I love it. So you guys had, how did your son, what was your son's roll into all of this?
Yeah. So basically from there, we ended up selling the lollipops within 3 days. He sold $500 worth.
$500 worth of lollipops in 3 days.
$500 in 3 days. And so by the end of the week, he had over $1,000 of sales.
Wow. Okay. $1,000 for the sales.
Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of getting the PlayStation 5, he now upgraded and could afford a gaming computer. So
wow. So so your son, you're teaching your son to be an entrepreneur by making him earn his way to buy the things that he wants.
Yes.
And then what was he like? How was he like selling these? Was it like on the street corner? Like what was he doing to sell the lollipops?
Yeah. So basically we promoted it on social media. And so he had we had orders coming through, and I made like an order sheet. We wrote down the names, the flavors that they wanted. And when it was ready for pickup, he would go take his goodie bag, load up the order, take it outside, do the exchange, and even box up things. We shipped out things to Oahu. We shipped it out to Maui, I think it was, right?
Maui.
I think I'm going to have to,
Kauai.
are you still running this business? I might want to buy some lollipops.
Absolutely. We even had a car dealership order like 200 of just the molds of the cars. And
that's so genius. I mean, like, this is like it's such a good promotional. I mean, seriously, I might have to talk to you guys after about this, just because it's so. I mean, number one, it's genius because you have like the lihimo inside of it, and then number two, just because like it's such a it's a small favor that you can like for car dealerships or like for like your company, grab bags, things like this, and also like supporting like your like a 10-year-old for his dreams or whatever. I mean, there's so many wins and so many levels on this.
Yeah, and he was stoked, because. This PC that my friend offered for my son to purchase, he knew how good it was. Yeah. And in his mind, at a 10-year-old, I just sent him pictures of the PC and what this tower had in it and the lights and the fans and all this other stuff that I don't even know about. But he's like, that is an awesome thing. He goes, he literally told me that computer's worth $4,000. And I was like, wait, what? So I messaged the individual and she goes, I built it for $4,500. Wow. And I was like, wow. So he's that close on, you know what I mean? For so doing his due diligence.
He's
in there already. So he already knows how much money he needs to raise. So then she was actually selling it for $1,800. So when I told him that this PC is available and you need to raise money for it, do you want to do it? He goes, let's do it, Dad. So we produced, like Raquel said, all of his documents, a spreadsheet. I gave him a bank bag, a bank-of-employee bank bag. He put all his receipts in there. He put all his cash in there. We deducted everything like a normal business, his overhead to his profits. He actually did the transaction with all his clientele. And at the very end, the person that had the PC was able to bless him and tell him, you know what, instead of selling this PC for $1,800, I'll give it to you for $1,000.
Wow.
So he was stoked. This is the first time a 10-year-old, he has a bank bag with $1,000 and he's walking outside. The PC is coming out onto the driveway in pieces. He gets a nice microphone like this.
Double screens.
Two screens.
2 screens, microphone.
He gets a gaming chair. He gets a light.
That's part of like the package?
The whole thing.
It almost looks like this setup right here. And he gave him and he counted it. And I told her, it counted to her. So she knows it's $1,000. And then so you're verifying it. And his little guy, and he was going, and I kind of broke it down, gave him the bigger bills so that way he wasn't dealing with dollars and fives. But anyways, long story short, he did his own transaction. He took the PC, gave his $1,000, and off we went.
This is a future millionaire business owner like in the making right now. Just like the experience of actually going through the process is like, number one is like blowing his mind because he's actually like, you didn't buy him the setup. He earned it himself. And then just the fact that as a 10-year-old, I can earn $1,000 by like hustling on the side. Like that's breaking so many limiting beliefs for him. Like I love that's such a cool like entrepreneurship parenting like experience. Like congrats to you guys and like you guys, that's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah, and it was the first time that he was a boss himself because we were over here in the kitchen and he's like, Mom, the lollipops are ready to be harvested. Can you take them out of the molds? I'm like, dude, this is your business.
And this is like 10 o'clock at night. We're doing the last batch. There was a time that we're in the middle of a batch and we ran out of flavors to put in his batch. And I was like, well, your order sheet, you got another 80 lollipops of this flavor. I go, what are you going to do about it? He goes, oh man. And so I had him call. I had him call Ace Hardware in Kona and he asked, hey, do you guys have it? And they're like, unfortunately, we don't have it, but Waimea does. I told him again, call Waimea. Sure enough, Waimea had it. So he gets off the phone and says, Mom, we need to go to Waimea to go get my bubble gum. But now, and I go, well, you know what that's going to cost, right? Right? So now her and I needs to leave our house. Now you got to pay gas.
It's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's already. I got to cook dinner, bro. Like now you're taking me away from my family.
Wow.
Right? But I'm trying to tell him this thing so he understands. And then I go, well, we got to drive to Waimea, and then now we got to come back. So there's a gas bill. Oh, but no, oh, come on, Dad, you know. And I go, you're so lucky. And I go, what about our wages? Like, you never even paid your workers.
Yeah, and if we tell him $40, he's like, okay, how's about 20? Like, he'll totally try to like lowball us and like negotiate. I'm like, you know, so then we're like, okay, boss, 30. Man. He's like, I would have done it for 35. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, this guy.
So funny.
Yeah.
Dude,
but
this
one of
is
the,
hilarious. Okay,
yeah, but one of the sweetest things is that not only had he learned entrepreneurship and like, you know, how I could only imagine like just how good he feels to know that, hey, you know what, I did this.
Yeah.
And his give back actually was so cute. You know, when we went to Waimea, actually, because we drove over there to go pick up more of the bubble gum, he actually was like, you know what, I'll treat you guys to Burger King. Yeah. And I was like, what? Lunch is on you or dinner? Yeah, because he knew that it took away from our dinner time. So he's like, you know what? I'll buy you guys dinner.
Yeah, he offered that.
And I was like,
right offered the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, he did. We're like, no, son, keep your money.
Some steak and lobster, some tomahawk Wagyus. Can we get some?
The big thing, I think the big thing that I really love is that you felt him, like, let him feel the pressure. Yeah. Because like a lot of times when like, I think with kids, like you just there's a problem. Okay, mommy and dad just solved it. It's like throw money or just to fix it without him having to actually feel it. But oh son, what are you gonna do? You ran out of flavors. Yeah. You have to fix it. You have to solve it, right? So okay, so he's like, oh crap. So like that, it's painful and it's a struggle, but it's like really you grow through these struggles, right? So like as investors, like we deal with the struggles every day. The more struggles you overcome, the better you get at becoming struggling. So like your problems don't become easier. You just gotta become way better at solving them. Correct. Yes. So like if you look at a guy like, let's say like Elon Musk, he's solving like $1 billion problems, right? We're solving like little $100,000 problems over here. But then like he's at a level where he can just solve those problems because his capacity to solve problems is so big. So like your son's like, oh, this is like a $100 problem that I'm solving, right? Like it's like, nah, we gotta finish players, but he solved it successfully with a little bit of bumpers and guidance.
Yes.
But then in the future, he's gonna be solving $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, $1 million problems because it's a skill and a muscle that he's building up over time. Right?
Yes. 100%.
Such a good story. I love that so much, man. Like it's like that. It's all your parents out there, this is like the way that you got to raise your kids.
Do it. It's going to help, man. Yes. We got to do it one kid at a time. You know, we got to build this up for that generation so that when our time is up, we know that we did our job.
Yeah. And we're guiding them in the right direction.
We feel good that we're releasing this type of child into society, you know, because there's one too many times that we see, you know, that, you know, kids get released out there and it's just.
And I think just to touch on this point, I think this like giving your kids a little bit of struggle and a little bit of work, like chores, I think are super healthy. You know, I did some youth ministry back in the day, and after like the service is over, we're breaking down all the equipment and stuff. There's just some kids, if they have chores at home, they just jump in and start helping clean up. They're just like that's just what they do because that's what they do at home, right? Yeah. But then the kids who like don't have chores at home, they just sit on the bench and they're just like, let me just check my phone like that. I mean, but it just goes to show you that like sometimes I think even like in our lives we ask God like, why am I struggling? What's like why is it so hard? But it's really for our benefit because when we go through these struggles and we overcome these things, it makes us better humans. It makes us more healthy. It really grows as people, right?
Yes,
I agree 100%. For sure.
I mean, but I'm just like kids like for parenting. I mean, like if you guys need to. You guys should put on like a parenting class or like a course. Like we would.
Oh, he would be good at that.
They call it when people, you know, we hang out. They call it the Camp Ah Nee.
Okay,
right,
okay.
Man. If you better stop acting up before I'm gonna send you to Camp Ah Nee. Right? It's just
Uncle Nick. I'm gonna call Uncle Nick.
But it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? I'm just like, do I want to be?
The thing is, like, when you're in it sucks because when I was growing up, I had strict parents. Like they're like, you can't watch rated R movies, you can't like stay out past whatever, like these things. I'm like, man, this sucks. Like I have like the worst parents. All my friends, they can do whatever they want, right? But then in retrospect, I'm like so grateful for them that they did like that because I grew so much and built like this muscle of discipline and like obedience like back then that serves me to this day. And so like you don't realize that when you're going through the suck that like how this is actually helping you because it's just painful, right? But whenever like the contractor like doesn't show up for work or whenever like, you have this problem, okay, the roof is more expensive or hard money lender won't call you back. These are all challenges you're solving to become better investors but better people on the back end.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm still like kind of go over like the story with your son, man. Like I saw this out. You have 3 kids.
Yep.
How old are they?
Our oldest is 19. our son, and then we have a daughter. It's 15, and then Timana is 11.
Okay. Do you guys spend a lot of time? Like, how are you able to balance like real estate, agent, investing, construction, and also family time together?
Well, basically, it's all about turning it off, right? Having at our front door, really trying to not always chase that dollar, right? And knowing that when you get to the front door, even the cell phones, right? The same thing, right? Is turning it off. I started doing do not disturbs on my phone. Give my family, my wife, everybody a peace of mind, quiet, and it's daddy time, or we're reading Bibles, you know what I mean, or we're having dinner, and literally separating myself from that, from cell phone, right? Once you shut that cell phone off, you're basically shutting off the world.
It's amazing what you can do when you just
one
turn
little
your phone
device,
off, right?
right? So the
Creating
thing is
habits.
that phone right there is such a distraction. If you're not using it as a tool, it's a distraction. Right? And I'm a true believer of that. And leaving everything at the front door, leaving the problems, leaving the business at the front door, whatever conversations. And now when you're in your own, your castle, now having that intimacy, with your kids, having that, attention, right? So. And showing them that, leading by example, that you got to have these conversations, right? You cannot just sit here and everybody like this or watching this or watching that. So, and the weekends, right? So before we used to offer working 6 days a week. Monday through Saturday, take off Sunday. But now it's no working on the weekends. So that way, because if my crew is working, I got to work. I got to answer my phone. I got text messages coming in and this and this. So I completely shut it off and say, yo, you guys have fun and spend time with your families too, right? And take a break, rest your bodies, your mind, recuperate. So when we can come back, our week is solid.
This is a crazy paradigm shift. I think the hustle culture is 24/7, Sunday to Saturday. We're hustling 24/7 and we never shut everything off. And that's the way you succeed. And I think there's a lot of guys who succeed like that. But then like the healthier way, I think that's why I'm a big fan of Pineda, because like he really believes in like, okay, Monday through Friday, or he said like barriers or basically the times when you're not working. I think that's really healthy for us to do. And I love how you guys are able to successfully be investors, own a business, be an agent, but also have like restrictions on your time where you can actually shut things off and have quality family time together.
Because that's important, man. It's important to, have these relationships, with the kids, they're growing up, and also partnership, what I mean? It's like you spend so much time outside making somebody else's dream come true. If I'm in general contracting, right? If I can spend 8 hours a day on somebody else's property, making their dreams come true, why can't I come home and give my wife the attention that she needs, or my kids that attention that they need? I already invested all that time on a complete stranger. So don't come home and close everything off. That's the time your actual work starts, is how I believe, because without family,
what's the point of it?
What's the point? You can have all this, but if you don't have quality time and family, and that's precious, you can't get time back, right? So we have a lot of time to hustle. We have a lot of time to make money.
You can always make more money. You can't make more time,
right? And people always say, hey, make money when you're sleeping. Okay, we are. So now we are doing that. Now we can take back our life and get that financial time freedom that everybody's striving for. And that Saturday and Sunday now is ours. We're going to go fishing. Sundays we dedicate to the Lord. We go to our church on Sunday. We go eat a nice breakfast after, watch the surf and be able to just, clean you got to get ready for Monday.
No, but the thing is, like, it also recharges you to kind of disconnect and be apart from your phone. And this thing is, it's so dangerous. I mean, even having this over here, like, I should not even have this on the podcast. Like, and the thing is, like, what? So, like, me and my wife, we had like a brunch, I think, the other day, and then I'm on my phone. Like, she's like, "Honey, get off your phone." I'm like, I'm listening to you, but like, what's the big deal? Like, because I have the phone, but I am listening to her, right? But I'm also like, do like multitasking, or like
you're hearing her though.
But the thing is, so I was like, at that time I was like, what's the big deal? Like, I have my phone, we're still having the conversation, like, but okay, so like fast forward to like a couple months later, I was on this podcast with another guy. Speaking of the devil, here's the phone right now, so let's turn this off, guys. But so fast forward a couple months, I'm on a podcast with this dude, right? So we're having like we're talking together. And then in the middle of the podcast, he's just like on his phone, like texting. And I'm like, it's so hard to have a conversation because I'm like, I feel like you feel like you're getting ignored, right? Because the guy's like, but he's like on his phone, like texting something. And so like, but it's at that moment, I was like, okay, this is how my wife felt. Like, you know, like, it's like that. You have to kind of like feel it yourself to kind of understand like I mean, like he was still listening to me. We're still having a conversation, but like it feels like it's like a different like experience, right? So like, okay, like going back to my wife's like, okay, honey, I think you're right. You know, so like we tried as much as possible. Okay, when we're out together, let's put our phones away. Even don't keep it up. So like you're like dual tasking, just put it away and just have like a face-to-face conversation where your attention is on the other person.
Right. And I think, you know, like we're so grateful that, you know, for our kids, you know, it's, you know, learning along the way, right? So we had to learn, you know, how to manage, you know, like real estate and construction and investing. And so did the kids, you know, we're so grateful that they were open to, and they understand like, hey, if I'm on the phone, if I close the door, that means that I'm on a call, you know, type of thing. So they did sacrifice along, you know, with us as well. And, you know, we're not after, I mean, the money's great and everything, but what we're really after is the freedom that we get back so that we can go to the basketball practices. We can go to the games. And that's, you know, there's so many times when I was, you know, working at the hotels and such where, sorry, I can't make it, son. I can't make it to your game. And it's just like, you know, it's disheartening for them, right? But they understand. But that's just the way that they think life is, you know, but now they see this other side and that inspires them to be like, hey, I can control my own schedule, you know, type of thing. And so that opens their vision to be like, hey, you know, maybe I want to open up my own construction company and like, you know, and pivot and do things like that.
That's the life they see. That might be the life they want.
Yes.
And they're picking up by like osmosis, right? It's like it's caught, not taught as far as like what they believe and see about the world. It's just their worldview is shaped is by how you guys live your lives, not just what you tell them. But I think I love it because like there's a lot of people out there who they're not trying to be a billionaire. They're not trying to like be like Jeff Bezos. They just want enough time so that they have like a little bit of security and they can spend time with their family. It's like you don't need millions of dollars to be able to do that. You just need like a little bit of passive income, a little bit of like security, and then you can actually buy back your time to actually live like your best life with like people that you love the most. You know? So for sure. And that's why I think it's just like real estate to me is like such a good vehicle because it's like one of the only vehicles where like everyday people like me, you, like us together, like we don't have a special education. We don't have like a large like resources or like a large amount of money, but we can still do this and we can still like have a vehicle where we can like buy back our time and have like just a quality of life that like we all kind of crave.
Yes, 100%. Yeah,
amazing, guys. So just to wrap it up, maybe somebody who's just starting out, they see the Ah Nees, they're like, I want to be like Nick and Raquel when I grew up, or like what kind of advice would you give to them kind of just starting out?
All I can suggest is just go for it. You know, believe in yourself, believe in your partner. If you are doing it as a dynamic duo, bring each other up. Don't pull each other down. One person's strength might be somebody else's weakness. That's what creates the teamwork. And just go. Take huge action. And just believe in yourself and surround yourself with great people and like-minded individuals because you are who you are that you hang out with. That's my bottom line is your association is very, very key. Building successful teams. Love it. That's for me, for the new guys.
I think, I think for me is really, just being intentional, like really just, you know, how bad do you want it? And like people talk about your whys, you know, like why do you want to do it and such. And so I kind of rephrase it as what do you want to do and what do you not want to do anymore? I don't want to wake up and have to get ready and go to work. I don't want to miss my son's game, you know, things of that nature. And so, but these are the things that I do want. I do want to be there. And so you start making these adjustments and you create new habits and, you know, and with those new habits, you know, shape and form them to be intentional about where you want to go. So if you're a newbie, you know, start with the mind. You know, you have to start with mindset is so key. So you have $100, go buy some books. Like, you know, there's so many great information. And then get educated because then you feel more confident. The more you learn, the more confident you're like, you know what, I got this. Oh, you know what, I read this before, or I heard this on a podcast, or I saw it here and there. And then when you start hearing it and seeing it over and over again, you're in the path to where you want to go. And then you just repeat that process. And then again, be intentional. Like, okay, what's the next level? What does that look like? What does that entail? Envision it, manifest it, and just go with it. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. And also, if it's a learning opportunity, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Shake it off and be like, you know what? It's just part of the learning curve. I learned something new today and move on.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you guys so much. If people want to find you, where can they find you guys?
Oh, on the Instagram. You know, everybody's on social media. So
we'll link you down in the show notes.
Yep.
So.
That's the best bet.
Yes.
We got business cards. They can click on that.
Okay.
And then they got all our personal information on there. We'll send the link out.
Well, thank you guys. It was a lot of fun. We still got to talk after this about those lollipops. But thank you guys for being on the show, and super appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.